Hey, how are you?
Good, nice to be here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Lovely to be here.
Yeah. This is part of our Through the Lens series. We're going to look back at some of the history around London tech, its ecosystem, the good, the bad. But I can't jump straight in without doing an introduction to Russ Shaw CBE.
Okay.
You're originally from the US. Has made London your home.
Yes.
We are very grateful that you have made London your home. I would say for me, you are best known as the founder of Tech London Advocates, which you founded in 2013. London's Evening Standard described you as a titan in tech. I have referred to you very often as one of the most influential people in London tech. I would also say the original ambassador for diversity in tech, who has always championed women in tech and diversity in tech. So we all thank you for that.
Thank you.
But I want to start by asking you the question that you've probably been asked a lot of times. Why did you decide to set up Tech London Advocates?
Sure. Well, first of all, Tech London Advocates is an open, inclusive, diverse community of tech leaders all coming together as volunteers to promote and support tech startups and scale-ups. And we've now rolled that out and replicated that model all around the world through Global Tech Advocates. Why did I do it? You have to go back to 2012. I had just come out of Skype, and I thought, I want to do something that gives back to tech. And in 2012, you could see this emergence of startups in East London, in Shoreditch and Hoxton, et cetera. You've got the government, you've got City Hall promoting London's tech sector. Where's the private sector? Where are the diverse leaders from the private sector who will come together to support the startups and scale-ups, to talk about what they're doing, to help mentor them, to connect them to investors, whatever that might be? And I thought it would be a great part-time project for me to kick off. And my feet haven't touched the ground since then. And when people ask me, what's your secret? What's the secret sauce for doing this? And I kind of say, well, actually, it's this spirit of collaboration. This is my full-time occupation now. Yeah. And I have the best job in the world.
So there were clearly a lot of things that we were making noises about in 2012, 2013. What are those things that we got right?
I think we got a lot of things right. And kudos to the government for enacting great policies and legislation to do that. Also in the earlier days, it was about lobbying to get coding on the curriculum.
Absolutely.
And if I remember, the UK was the first G7 country to adopt that. I only am now just starting seeing nations around the world implement what was started here a long time ago. So I also say, look, we can't rest on our laurels. We have to keep looking forward. What do we need? We are now the third largest tech ecosystem in the world. The US is 1, China is 2, India is fast approaching the UK. They'll have the largest tech ecosystem in the world in 10, 15, 20 years. But the UK tech sector punches above its weight. And you can trace it back to the implementation of EIS or the entrepreneur visa or other initiatives that really got the ball rolling.
I think for me, one of the things, and I do work across a lot of different sectors, was I've always given the tech sector as an example of this is like-minded people coming together. Yes, we might all have our day jobs and we might all have to compete for business, but we're coming together for one common cause.
Yes.
And that's really putting London or UK tech on the map.
Yes. We're creating a unique British tech ecosystem that is reflective of the homegrown talent, the overseas talent, the diversity of who is in our ecosystem. And I think that is an underlying strength that we have. FinTech was kind of the first tech vertical out of the box. And, that links back to some of the great open banking legislation that we have here. You can see the roots of that. Google acquired DeepMind in 2014. And you look at that, and then a couple of years later, there were 200, 300, 400 AI startups in London. And now London and the UK is a global AI hub. Climate tech, health tech, ed tech. These are all tech verticals that started here successfully and have continued to grow and expand. But we all have to work together and say, we got to move faster, because the rest of the world is not waiting for us to implement these things, because they all want to build their own ecosystems.
Absolutely. Do you think that we're being overtaken by other countries and other jurisdictions?
I don't think we have. I'd much rather be where the UK is today versus most other places. And, even in places like the US, they have some significant challenges at the moment around government policy, around how fractured it is, how much the big tech companies are driving too much dominance on AI, which could be at the expense of vibrant startup scale-up ecosystems. So I think we're in a good position, but we cannot be complacent. We cannot be arrogant about how well we've done. We have to double down and work that much harder. We've demonstrated that we have built a really solid base of startups, and we've seen some of them come on and go on to become very successful. We now have an increasing pipeline of scaling businesses that need more capital.
Yeah.
And rather than relying on overseas capital, how do we get more domestic capital through pension funds and the work that the current and the previous chancellors have been doing in that space? The other thing that I hear as I travel around the world is great respect for UK rule of law.
Absolutely.
We point to fintech. We talked about fintech. The innovation sandbox is that the Financial Conduct Authority.
It's been a game changer.
It has been a huge game changer. And how do you take that model and work it into other sectors? So it's more that spirit of we can do this. I mean, we did see the bottom fall out. Close call 2+ years ago when Silicon Valley Bank closed its doors here in the UK. And I get asked that question a lot around the world is, how did you do this in 48 hours? And I said, it's collaboration. 100 of us came together on a WhatsApp group because we saw that if we didn't get an institution to open its doors, we would have lost a third of our tech sector. And that spirit of we're facing a crisis, we can get through this, let's use our collective power and come up with the right solution.
I, even as a lawyer, am a strong believer in soft power and lobbying. The saving of the Silicon Valley Bank was that really soft power, everybody coming together. But there's also examples of lobbying.
Yes.
Yeah, so, tell us about the semiconductor strategy.
Yeah, I don't call it lobbying. I call it, persuasion of, going in with a constructive argument that says, why are we not doing this when the rest of the world is? Look at what we've built. Third largest tech ecosystem in the world. We're going to need enormous computing power for AI, for quantum. If we don't have a vibrant semiconductor sector underpinned by a semiconductor strategy, then I think we've got a problem, and it's going to disadvantage us down the line. So we, Global Tech Advocates and Tech London Advocates, prepared a letter, an open letter to the Prime Minister, to Rishi Sunak, then PM, and in a very nice way said, where's the semiconductor strategy? This is what we're looking for. We need guidance so that the private sector can get on with it. And on the same day, we gave an exclusive to the Times newspaper to let them know that this is what we were doing. And it worked. I use that as an example of the power of persuasion. We're not a lobbying organization, but it's that independent grassroots aspect of what we do. When I talk to government or when I talk to people in the media, that people understand that, say, look, I'm just representing not what I'm hearing at 35,000 feet, but what I'm hearing on the street. It's the power of persuasion when you say, these are the examples, and if we did this, we'll see change come. And that has helped in what we do.
So the UK is a great place to have a business idea and create a startup.
Yeah.
Tell me really what it's like to scale a business in the UK.
Oh, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's no doubt about it. But that's true in most places around the world. And I saw this when I was at Skype many years ago. Going from startup through scaling business requires a different skill set as you grow and expand the business. So you've got to look at the leadership skills that you've got, but then you need to look at the environment. And I think the two key challenges that we have here is the pools of scaling capital are not as robust as we need them to be. We often joke that the Canadian pension fund is a bigger investor in UK tech than the UK pension funds. And we're not saying it needs to go 100% in the opposite direction, but how do you swing that back so that there's a good mix between overseas investors and domestic investors getting behind scaling businesses? And then to my previous point just now is, do these organizations have the right talent and the skills required to scale a business? It's very different when you're managing a small business of 5 or 10 people versus 500. How do we take some of that degree of difficulty away. It's never going to completely go away, but those are the two areas that, as I look at the next 5 to 10 years, we need to work together to say we need to make it better for scaling founders and entrepreneurs to get the capital, to get the talent that they need.
One of the things that the government did try to do was to introduce the scale-up visa.
Yes.
So those individuals that have experience of scaling a business can come to the UK, but it's not utilised enough.
Yes.
And we don't have the credible data to back it up.
Yes. Some of it is around promotion, making people aware of it. If we're not trying, if we're not experimenting, if we're not looking at different visa paths to get the talent here, then we're selling ourselves short.
Because where we don't have the skills, we need to bring in the right skills to the UK.
I mean, to me, and you've heard me say this is about the greatness of the and versus the tyranny of the or. It's about homegrown talent and overseas talent. I think it was the Entrepreneurs Network has just come out with a report recently that of the 100 fastest growing companies, over half of them are founded by overseas founders. So we have the evidence and we need to keep driving that. On the homegrown piece of this, I was delighted to hear during London Tech Week on the opening day, the Prime Minister announced the launch of an initiative called Tech First, £187 million, mainly from the private sector, to invest in training and upskilling the British workforce on digital and AI skills. And I think the target is by 2030, 7.5 million British adults being trained on AI. We've seen the big tech companies come to the UK this year under the banner of the Tech Prosperity Deal, investing tens of billions of pounds in AI infrastructure. We're only at the very beginning of that journey. So I think the coming years for the UK, we're going to really prove that we're an AI nation. We've seen Microsoft and OpenAI and Salesforce all put their global hubs here. This level of investment coming in is a great vote of confidence. We have to demonstrate as a nation that we're really up for the task here. I'm seeing a lot of speed happening in so many parts of the world. The Nigerian government has launched their own AI strategy. They want to be the AI leader for Africa. And I think they're going to do it. So you see in different parts of the world that everybody is embracing AI in this future direction. Look at all of these models that are coming out. Gemini 3 from Google is another game changer. DeepSeek out of China. So we have got to move very fast. So keep doing what we're doing. We've got the strategies in place. We've got to execute and implement in a constructive way. And I hope more broadly for the UK, we have a growing economy so that everybody has a chance to participate, get good opportunities, and create better livelihoods through startups and scale-ups.
I was going to close with, what do you hope for 5 years' time? But actually, I'm going to say, what do you hope for 3 years' time? Because we will be coming to the end of this parliament by then.
Yes. I think the thing that I am looking for, and this may sound strange, but I want to see continuity. We need a higher degree of certainty. We had Brexit happen. We had 3 years of uncertainty, which really hit the startup ecosystem particularly hard because investors weren't sure how they were going to invest. And then we had a global pandemic, which kind of threw everything up in the air. But for a lot of the folks that are in our community, having that continuity and clarity about where we're going, how we're going to get there, and obviously events can change things, but that to me is what I hope for over the next 3 years. And I think if we have that with all the things that we've discussed, there's no reason why in 3 years we can't have a conversation that says the UK is moving forward, its economy is growing, it's got a vibrant technology ecosystem that's fully embraced AI. I can see that today, but let's make sure that landscape, that runway that we need is really clear for us to guide that plane in.
Because one of the very positive things about the UK was always stability.
Yes.
And so that continuity and stability, I think, will make us achieve a lot of things that we can talk about very positively in 3 years' time.
I think we shook a lot of people around the world with a lot of those changes. And having that stability, I think, will build confidence for others who want to come here as overseas talent or investors to invest here. It's really key to get those messages clear domestically and globally.
So we've done a lot of things. We've achieved a lot of things. We've kind of lost our way a little bit with too many changes, too much instability. But if we could just get that stability back, along with those positive messages that we know we're really good at, positive messages, positive stories, yes, we can see some of the things that we've talked about playing out in practice. I just don't think we shout about them enough, though.
We don't.
We don't.
We have many people who've been on this collective journey together who know and understand this, and they are important voices. We need to bring more fresh voices, fresh ideas. It's that knowledge base. It's that understanding of we're on this journey together. I think if we can be more self-reliant as a nation and know that we've got great talent, great skills, we've got clear strategies and visions of where we want to be, not just as a tech nation, but more broadly, that is a really exciting future that we should be sharing with everybody.
With that, Russ, I'm going to thank you for your time as
Great
always.
to be with
It's
you.
been great speaking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.